You're watching eNews Direct. Hello and welcome to it. I'm Tutuzile Ramela. Here are the stories we're tracking for you this evening.
We're starting to worry about the state of the people.
Rescuers battled to reach 3 workers who are believed to still be alive after 3 days trapped underground. A legal showdown as the Constitutional Court is to decide if President Jacob Zuma has acted on the Public Protector's Nkandla recommendations. Remember, you can have a say on any of our stories. Do find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct. Our hashtags this evening, Lily Mine and Nkandla, and it's Lily Mine that leads the bulletin. Concerns mount as 3 people remain trapped underground at Lily Mine in Mpumalanga. Earlier today, signs of life were detected by rescuers. The workers have been trapped under tons of rubble since Friday. Government has closed the mine as the rescue operation continues.
Waiting for news. Relatives of the 3 people still trapped underground have been coming to the mine every day since Friday. It's day 4 since the collapse here at Lily Mine.
We've been coming here since Friday, and we've been hoping and praying the mother of 4 will still be alive. My cousin has 4 children and a husband.
Monitoring equipment has picked up signs of life underground.
Let's be quite honest, we're moving into the sort of 80th hour of rescue operations now. We're starting to worry about the state of the people in the crate, and it's been difficult at the moment. We've been having big rocks coming down into the draw points. We've been struggling to get some of these rocks out. We've had to use blasting techniques to get some of these rocks down.
Ironically, the 3 trapped workers were on the surface of the mine when the collapse occurred. The container they were working in, a room where equipment is issued, plunged into a sinkhole. The mine is closed, but 2 teams of rescue personnel are working round the clock to reach the 3 trapped mine workers. With signs that they may still be alive, the team is more aware that every second of this rescue operation counts. Malungelo Pui, bulletin.
5 years after the saga first broke, President Jacob Zuma will face the ultimate legal showdown over the Nkandla debacle. The Constitutional Court is to decide whether the president respected the Public Protector's recommendations about the multi-million rand upgrades to his personal homestead. In 2013, Thuli Madonsela advised Zuma to repay a portion of the money spent on non-security renovations to his home.
Until recently, President Jacob Zuma was adamant he didn't need to pay back any of the taxpayers' money spent on Nkandla. He accused the media of driving a malicious agenda against him.
It is raised by the media. It is not raised properly. This man is corrupt. He has eaten so much, 250.
Do you regret it though?
What do I regret? I mean, I'm not a cause of it.
Almost 2 years later, Zuma is now offering to pay back a percentage of the money spent on his private homestead's non-security upgrades. He insists he never failed to act on Public Protector Thuli Madonsela's 2014 directives. President Jacob Zuma appointed Police Minister Nathi Nhleko to determine whether his Nkandla chicken run, cattle kraal, amphitheatre, visitor centre and swimming pool were in fact security features. Nhleko found that they were, thereby absolving Zuma of any financial liability. The DA says this process was clearly designed to undermine Madonsela's recommendations. The DA and the EFF want South Africa's highest court to confirm that the Protector's remedial actions must be implemented, unless they're challenged in court.
We cannot have a situation where the Public Protector faced a humiliation she faced before Zuma came back to his senses.
This matter is not just simply about President Zuma. It's about ensuring that there's always the rule of law, the supremacy of the Constitution.
Madonsela has repeatedly said that government's apparent refusal to act on her Nkandla recommendations had damaged her office's ability to do its job. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
Advocate Thuli Madonsela's term comes to an end later this year, and lobby group Corruption Watch is urging South Africans to get involved in choosing a new public protector. A parliamentary committee will provide President Jacob Zuma with a list of candidates, and you can get involved by submitting nominations to the committee.
According to the Constitution, the public protector is a watchdog appointed to prevent the abuse of power by any arm of government. For the past 7 years, that position has been held by Advocate Thuli Madonsela.
On the one hand, she's probably the most revered public servant in the country. On the other hand, she has been reviled and dealt with contemptuously by an array of people.
Madonsela's term in office has seen her take the president head-on in a highly publicized Nkandla debacle, a case that's still being fought in the country's courts. But her legacy goes far beyond Nkandla.
The legacy is in the many hundreds of communities and cases that got resolved in favour of the citizens by the office over the period that we've seen.
As the appointment of a new public protector looms, lobby group Corruption Watch is embarking on an awareness campaign to get ordinary South Africans involved.
We're starting to talk to people about what this office means, what this office does, how the nomination process happens, how the appointment process happens, and hopefully spark a debate. What kind of character, I guess, one is looking for in our public protector.
A parliamentary committee is due to be set up in Parliament within the next month, and members of the public will be invited to nominate candidates. The nominees will be interviewed and shortlisted before recommendations are announced in Parliament. The final decision, however, lies with President Jacob Zuma. Sikele Lwamdingi, Johannesburg.
President Jacob Zuma has asked members of the public for their input. This ahead of his State of the Nation address on Thursday. Today, Zuma spoke to taxi drivers, informal traders and foreigners in Pretoria about issues he would tackle in his speech.
President Jacob Zuma has reached out to a Pretoria community. Surrounded by bodyguards, he's listened to informal traders' concerns. Among them, police harassment, a lack of housing and poor working conditions. President Jacob Zuma also visited the Home Affairs Refugee Center, with thousands of foreign nationals queue here every day trying to obtain the relevant paperwork to stay in the country.
There are people asking for money. We can't get extension. We are sleeping here 2 weeks, 2 days.
You can apply for a residence and you can took maybe 9 months. But now it's almost 6 years.
A number of the issues raised, I will indeed include them in the State of the Nation address, because this will be the views directly from the people.
There's been mixed reaction to the president's visit.
And the promise is remain promise until it's done. So I don't see any differences.
Mr. Zuma is a politician. You know, people are doing politics. When you came, you just talk. But after that, maybe he can do it, maybe he can't respect it. Yeah, so that one I don't know.
Zuma is set to address the nation on Thursday.
Are things fine or not fine?
Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
A quick look at international news now, when 2 days after a powerful earthquake in Taiwan, 4 people have been pulled alive from a rubble of a collapsed building. At least 38 people died in the magnitude 6.4 quake, and hundreds were injured. Now, most of the victims were inside the 17-story apartment building in Tainan City. Late last night, the number of rescued people stood at 310. More than 100 are still thought to be trapped in the rubble. The United Nations Security Council is ready to impose new sanctions on North Korea. That's in response to the launch of a long-range rocket yesterday. In Pyongyang today, the event was celebrated with fireworks and a parade. North Korea said it fired the rocket to place a satellite in orbit. It's believed, though, that the real purpose was to test ballistic missile technology. The launch came weeks after the country conducted a 4th nuclear test, violating existing sanctions. Let's take a look at all things topical on social media. And Gareth Edwards, what are we leading with today?
All right, it's all got to do with the mining in Indaba. Dudu, thank you very much. A very important topic for the South African economy. The all-important mining in Indaba certainly has kicked off, but to a rather somber mood on the back of the news at Lily Mine. Those are trapped mine workers. The main focus today seeming to be a way to negotiate better to avoid situations like we had in the 2014 platinum sector strike. So big talking point today. Also, this man, Kolomayine, ANC Youth League president, he's declared war essentially on the EFF and called its leader, Julius Malema, a vampire and his supporters, monkeys. The organisation vowing to defend the president as well at the State of the Nation address this week. So fireworks are expected. You can get more on these stories and of course plenty more by following us on Twitter. You're looking for @eNews Direct, or go and like us on Facebook as well. And if you've missed anything from tonight's show, we always have it on our website as well. Just after 8 o'clock every evening, you can go to enca.com/direct.
It's going to be a tough year for the mining sector. That's the warning from Mineral Resources Minister Msebenzi Zwane. Thousands of job cuts are already planned. However, Zwane says government is engaging with industry players to minimize the impact. The minister was speaking at the African Mining Indaba, which opened in Cape Town today. Delegates are set to discuss investment and the development of mining interests on the continent. The annual conference comes at a difficult time as falling demand and declining commodity prices are taking their toll on the industry.
This year is going to be a rough year. We are expecting some job losses because of this long winter. We will deal with it, we'll engage, we'll apply our agreement, how to minimize the impact. But we are hopeful that we will regain the strength of our commodities.
And with that, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Center now. Here's Louis.
Hello again, everyone. It's time for a check of your Tuesday's weather conditions, and starting with the cloud, rain and wind. There'll be morning fog along parts of the eastern escarpment as well as the western coastline, while over much of the Cape provinces it will be mainly clear, hot and dry. But on the Highveld, afternoon thunder showers will be redeveloping once again over the Free State, the northwest, as well as in Gauteng. We will even see scattered thunderstorms for some areas. Now for your provincial forecast, and starting off with KwaZulu-Natal, it's going to be a partly cloudy and warm day across the province. We could see some light rain for parts of the coastline and a couple of thunder showers around Ladysmith and Newcastle. Very isolated for those areas. Light rain along the wild coast of the Eastern Cape. The rest of the province will be warm to hot and dry. And we're expecting another hot day for the Western Cape. Temperatures in the mid-30s for most areas. We're not expecting any rainfall. A very hot day is also in the forecast for the Northern Cape. Uppington gets to 40 degrees, far milder for Alexander Bay, with that morning fog keeping things cooler across that area. Thunder showers will be isolated for much of the Free State, but scattered for Bethlehem and Harrismith. Zastron, on the other hand, will be partly cloudy with no rain expected. And it's going to be another hot day in the northwest, partly cloudy conditions, and a couple of thunder showers will be developing in the afternoon. Similar conditions for some parts of Limpopo, but it will be dry in the Lowveld, where temperatures are going to reach the mid to upper 30s. And it's going to be a dry day as well for Skukuza and Mpumalanga. Thunder showers for the escarpment and Highveld areas, and those will be scattered for Emalaheni, Secunda, as well as Standerton. There's up to a 60% chance for thunder showers over southern Gauteng. That will include Johannesburg, but isolated further northwards for Pretoria. Let's look further ahead now to Wednesday, and not too much changing over South Africa. Further thunder showers for Pretoria and Johannesburg, but dry and very hot in the western parts. Things will be cooling down on Thursday for Cape Town with a high of 28 degrees, and patchy storms continue in Limpopo and Mpumalanga and Gauteng.
Thank you, Louis. Coming up after the break, Beyonce bowls them over with a politically charged halftime performance at the Super Bowl.
Catch my fly and my cocky fresh. I'm so reckless.
Welcome back. Pop star Beyonce sent out a strong political statement during her halftime show at the US Super Bowl yesterday.
Indeed, this follows the release of a new single, Formation, touted as a rallying cry for the Black Lives Matter movement.
Beyonce's dancers at the Super Bowl were dressed like Black Panthers, a radical black political group in the 1960s and 70s. They displayed a message supporting Mario Woods, an armed black man who was shot dead by police in December.
Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess.
Anticipation had been building ahead of her performance after she unexpectedly released a highly political music video last week.
I'm so possessive.
It shows scenes of white police officers facing a black teenager. Beyonce also appears in a flooded New Orleans, recalling disaster scenes after Hurricane Katrina. Authorities were accused of ignoring poor black people during the flooding. There's been mixed reaction to the video and the performance. While some have praised her, others have accused her of spreading an anti-police message, which only serves to further divide communities.
Right, here's a reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye.
We're starting to worry about the state of the people.
Rescuers battled to reach 3 workers who are believed to still be alive after 3 days trapped underground. A legal showdown as the Constitutional Court is to decide if President Jacob Zuma has acted on the Public Protector's Nkandla recommendations. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Yep, we're back tomorrow. Rhythm City up's next.
Remember, you can have your say. Do send us an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
Or just talk to us on Twitter and Facebook. And the handle that you need is @eNewsDirect.
Until tomorrow night, have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.